What's up, guys? I'm Andre reynad Yanuk, and I am a former Hearthstone pro, the reigning BlizzCon champion. Used to be a streamer, and I'm the founder of TempoStorm, which is the best team in Hearthstone. So I think Hearthstone has made a lot of changes over the years, and a lot of them have been positive and for the better, and I think a lot of them I didn't agree with. I think the biggest change I've seen in Hearthstone is when it comes to their card design. Blizzard has started creating single cards that create entire archetypes around them, and they've started doing that more and more. Whereas back in the day, Blizzard just made a lot of good cards, and then the best combination would be the best deck. Now it's a lot of cards that you build around. So things like Kingsbane, Shutterwalk, Gen, Baku. They're printing more and more cards like this every expansion, so that there's entire archetypes shaped around one card. And I think overall that's helped the metagame be really diverse, because there are a lot of different archetypes that are viable. Like, all of those cards usually have one competitive build of them. But yeah, overall, I think it's just a different way of deck building than we used to do back in the day, where now, the developers kind of shape your archetype for you before the expansion releases. So I think Warlock might be the best class in the game now. It's between Warlock and Druid. Warlock's definitely the most flexible one, because Zoo is very competitive, Evenlock is very competitive, and Control Warlock is very competitive. So there are three archetypes that are super powerful with Warlock right now that make it more diverse than Druid, and possibly stronger depending on the metagame. It's definitely between Druid and Warlock, though, when it comes to the strongest deck. When it comes to Shaman, there are a couple cool ways to build the deck now. You can build a Eureka deck, you can build a full token deck, but I still think that even Shaman is one of the best for laddering, because the games are very fast, and it's a very high win rate deck, whereas Shutterwalk variants are going to be the most competitive at very high rank. So when you get to high legend, I think the Shutterwalk builds of the deck are going to be better. When it comes to the worst class in the game, it's also very hard to say, because every single class has a playable build of it. But I think overall, I would say Paladin is the weakest class right now, because its best deck is Odd Paladin, maybe with a magnetic package. It's a very aggressive deck, but it's not as good as Zoo. It's an aggressive strategy, but it loses to cards like Spreading Plague, whereas a deck like Zoo doesn't really care about those. So I think that even though Paladin has some good ways to build it, it's probably the weakest overall class right now, because other classes can do what it does better. Okay, so ranking the 5 best cards in the expansion, in no particular order, I'm going to list the 5 most powerful ones. I want to keep in mind that sometimes a card is very powerful, but it doesn't have a place in a high-tier deck. It doesn't mean the card is bad. It just means that the other 29 cards are not quite there yet. With that said, I would say Dr. Boom would definitely be in my top 5. It's an incredibly powerful card, and it is going to be in almost every single warrior deck from now on. It's just so incredibly good. And even if warrior doesn't end up having a very high tier deck, I still feel like Dr. Boom is so powerful that you have to consider it a top 5 card in this expansion, because it's just going to be an auto include in so many of the lists. Besides that, I would say Giggling Inventor is definitely a top 5 card. Summoning 2 Annoytrons for 5 mana. Like, people are people have gotten a lot better at noticing what is a broken stat line or what's a little bit too good. And I think this is a card that a lot of folks saw coming before the expansion was even released. I mean, just reading it, you know that it's a little too strong for 5 mana. And because it's neutral, you're going to see it in a lot of decks. Besides that, I would definitely say Phlebidinous Floop, the Druid Legendary, is a top 5 card for me. It's incredibly powerful. Works in combo decks. Again, it's going to be an auto-include in a lot of Druid decks. And then I would say that Mecha'thun is in my top 5. It just enabled so many combo decks that, even if none of them are very high tier right now, it's created so many archetypes by itself that, I think, I don't know, when a card says destroy the enemy hero, like, there's going to be some way to make it playable, So I feel like just on power level alone, that's definitely a top 5 card. I think I need one more. Yeah, that's hard to say. Hold on. I want to answer this. This is important. Yeah, I'm going to say it's Thunderhead, the new 4-mana Shaman card that makes 2 rush minions every time you overload. That card is so good. It's insane. Yeah, I mean, that's all I have to say about it. Like, it's so powerful that it's one of the best cards in even Shaman, in my opinion, even if you only play 4 cards that overload. So, yeah, I think I definitely rank it up there. So I think it was right of Blizzard to ban Whizbang the Wonderful from competitive play. And honestly, I wish Blizzard would do that more often with cards. I feel like Blizzard's always been very hesitant to ban anything in competitive play just because they don't want... It's kind of like an admission that something is wrong with the game, right? Like if they're banning a card, it's like they're saying, hey, this game is not balanced right now and we haven't patched the card. So I think that's the reason we don't see cards get banned more often, but I think it is a good short-term solution to things like Undertaker and stuff like that. But when it comes to Whizbang, I think Blizzard was right to ban it. And yeah, I think it's just good for competitive integrity. So luck will, like, when it comes to a pro level of play, there's 2 ways to look at it. For one individual game of Hearthstone, if you're really zoomed in, you only look at one game. If you're looking at one game, luck is 50% of the reason a player wins or loses. And then 40% of the reason is the decks that they selected. And then 10% is play skill. So like the way they execute the gameplay in the matchup. But when you zoom out of one game and you look at like a full season or, an entire year of tournaments, luck plays a very small role. Like it's impossible for a worse player to finish top of the standings over the course of a year. It can't happen. So on one hand, if you watch one game, you tune into a tournament, it does look very luck dependent because it is for that one game. But if you look at, the big picture, the best players always come out on top over the course of a year or a season. I think when it comes to deck building, the most important thing to avoid doing is never build a deck that's a strictly worse version of something else. Every deck that I build tries to fill a niche that no other deck can at the moment. So, I'm never going to build like an aggro priest deck that's just a strictly worse version of Zoo with the same strategy but worse cards. Yeah, it's different and it's unique, but there's no reason to play it in the metagame because it's a strictly worse version. So I always try to, find a deck that plays a unique role in the metagame. Korean fans are some of my favorite in Hearthstone. I think that, it's an awesome community, and, I'm happy that we can match you guys in at least one esport a little bit. And, just thanks for the support. Thanks for watching. And, I keep an eye out for more Hearthstone stuff from TempoStorm coming up.